Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there. Welcome to the show. I thought maybe we could do a cooking show today. What do you think? Or, sort of like household tips. Or seriously, household tips. You got any good ones? I'm always amazed that, you do read these things and it's like all the things you can do with tin foil. I mean, it's mind-blowing. Or all the things you can do with a can of Coke. Really. Who knew? The thing is, I can never remember them. I can never remember these things. But I think the time has come when we're probably going to have to give ourselves breaks in that manner. I feel like you guys are all my friends, my pals, and we're going to have to hold each other up. Happy birthday to the Pope tomorrow. He's going to be 80 years old tomorrow. That's a little troubling right there, since when Pope Francis became the Pope, he sort of said he thought he'd have a relatively short pontificate, in part because he was popes usually are old. But, he was old. And I swear I heard once he has one lung. Is that true? I'm thinking... Somebody check that. I think the Pope has one lung, which would seemingly be an impediment of some sort, but he seems so vital. Anyway, Pope Francis, God bless him. He's a good man, quite clearly. Good instincts. I mean, I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, but the stuff I don't agree with him on are things that his religion has dictated to him. So, but in terms of his clear love of humanity, I mean, I think it just comes through, doesn't it? And his humility. That comes through. I mean, all those things are just so appealing. So, I mean, he is extraordinarily popular. Maybe not among some of the cardinals in the Curia who have like knives under their red cassocks, but generally speaking, he is. Tapes it leaked of him. There was that scandal where somebody actually recorded things that were going on in the Pope's office. This was part of that. It was a scandal involving what? I guess it was people in the... Anyway, went to trial. Certain things were played in court. And lo and behold, the Pope sounded in private exactly as he sounds in public, saying the exact same things. I mean, he's just a good man. He appointed a bishop to a position that had never existed before. He created it. And the bishop is exclusively in charge of caring for the homeless near the Vatican. Those are people who'd always been there, but nobody had reached out. He's reached out. He's installed showers and bathrooms for the homeless. He's brought refugee families in to actually live at the Vatican. Man, that's a lucky refugee. He's given private tours for the homeless. I could say these are all like, photo op-y kinds of things, but not quite. And it certainly, in terms of leading by doing, I think this Pope is wonderful. I love him. I love that he lives in a little spare apartment, that he doesn't wear all the fancy-dancy clothes that other popes have. And then on the more concrete side, if he just hangs in there for another 2, 3, 4, 5 years, he will have been able to essentially pack the court. He will have most of the voting cardinals in who will choose the next pope, the College of Cardinals, have been chosen by him. So, we wish him long life right now. Oh dear. I don't pretend to have much to talk about. I was thinking yesterday, we're heading into that always difficult time, it's called Christmas, when talk shows lose their audience. I don't know what happens. You guys go away, the news sort of seems to stop, and people like me end up going blah, 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 blah. So I have been known to certainly to take the week in between Christmas and the New Year off, which I suspect I will be doing this year as well. However, I've got some surgery coming up on the 3rd of January, which is also going to take me out for a little bit. So I'm going to have to look at the calendar and figure out what's going to be happening here. Okay, something that gave me, Milton, God bless you. Yes, the Pope has one lung. Thank you very much. Well, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I got 2. They don't work real well, but one lung, that's... Let's see. He has one lung. He had the other removed when he was a teenager. After some kind of an infection. Geez, you wonder if that was necessary or maybe overkill. But at any rate, yeah, he's lived most of his life with one lung. Thank you, Milton. I swear, I knew I'd read that somewhere, and then I never, ever saw it mentioned again, when to me it seemed like a really interesting fact, even sort of a big fact, for a man of his age who is required to have such stamina. So thank you for letting me know I didn't dream that. Okay, here's something, and this is scribbled stuff on a piece of paper that the scribblings are from a piece that I saw part of. I think it was 60 Minutes last Sunday, and I sort of hung on to it because at the time I was relieved by this story. I mean, there's so much, as we know, that is going on in the world that just seems so frightening, so wrong, so headed in clearly bad direction. And then whenever we're given any indication that there are still people capable of acting courageously and creatively to seemingly intractable problems, it gives you some hope. And hope, at least in my neighborhood, seems to not be in great supply these days. And it was a story about Colombia, the country. Colombia, a nation that has been just riven by a civil war, essentially, for generations. And that war has come to an end just in the last months, really. And the man who is credited mostly with the end of the fighting in Colombia is the president, who was awarded, in fact, the Nobel Peace Prize this year. But this was not about him. This was about the impact, and I feel like I'm probably talking to a lot of people who saw the story themselves, but this is the impact on one city in Colombia of this move toward peace. And the city, you'll recognize the name, Medellin. Medellin. Because for years and years and years, all you read about Medellin, which is were things that like made it sound like the most terrifying place on earth. A place run by drug lords, a place where bodies are, just lying in the street. A frightening, frightening place. I don't pretend to know the history of this Colombian war, what propelled the revolutionaries there, the guerrilla fighters known as FARC, to then take to the jungles where they pretty much were for, I guess, decades. I don't pretend to understand any of it. But this was a story about, as far as I could tell, because again, I think I came in midway, it was a story of like one guy's genius. An advertising guy. A Colombian madman. An advertising guy who was obviously asked by somebody in the Colombian government to come up with ideas, to reach out to these guerrillas, to ask them to come home. And this guy, I guess, over the years, was part of what helped break down this ongoing, seemingly intractable and murderous war. And talk about thinking outside the box. He like at one point, he had, I'm trying to remember all the things that he did. He thought of what all those guys out there in the jungle are people who are our sons, daughters, cousins, blah, blah, blah. They're us, but they're out there. They can't come back because they figure they'll be jailed. They might want to come back. Let us remind them of what they're missing. Let us tell them it'll be okay. I mean, it seems to me the first year, what he did is he thought at Christmas time, they're probably more homesick. Can't be easy living in the jungle, even if you're a revolutionary. And he did something weird, like he had, like Christmas lights strung on trees in the jungle, in parts of the jungle, not really knowing if anyone would see them, blah, 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 blah. And every year he would do something more unbelievably fanciful. And it ended up working. Each year, hundreds would come in, and they would return. He went to the mothers, and he asked them for pictures of their sons and daughters who were in the jungle. And they strung up these childhood photos that could only have come from the mothers, I guess. Childhood photos in the jungle with little notes saying, please come home. He thought, what are they missing? Well, one thing they're missing, and one thing all Colombians love, is soccer. And so get this, he had soccer balls at one point. Signed by like all the stars of Colombian soccer. And then they threw these balls into the jungle as well, these special soccer balls. I don't know. One crazy, seemingly ridiculous kind of thing after another, and it begot slowly, but over time, this leave-taking, the dropping of weapons and coming home by rebel fighters. And a lot of them were given housing in a neighborhood in Medellin, which used to be like the worst. It's sort of a neighborhood that's like on the hillsides. And these hillsides look like, some of our steeper ones. And it's really tough walking up them and down them. And the mayor there, who was some young math professor who just decided to try to make things better in Medellin and got into politics, he also had these ingenious kind of ideas. He put escalators, public escalators, on the hillsides in this slum area of Medellin. They're beautiful, too, so that people could move about more easily, so they could get to jobs down the hills and up the hill. This is thinking outside the box, and they had cable cars all of a sudden. And it's a thriving community now. I guess I was so drawn by all of this, and I don't even know if I'm getting all my facts straight, but something as intractable as what was happening there over years and years, and the blood and the death and the rending of all social fabric and the political culture, everything. Somehow, some people never stopped working for the unimaginable, for reconciliation, for peace. And it appears to be working. It's things like that, give you hope. Because most places you look in the world, it looks like everybody's lost their cotton-picking minds. And the worst are elevated. The worst human instincts, the worst humans. And then you look at, Colombia. I might be making this sound way too rosy, but in that report, there was hope. And so that's why I started scribbling on this. Oh, God, look, there's something hopeful in the world. So I guess it's just an indication that we cannot lose hope. Because to lose hope is then to cease to work for something better. Because hopelessness is debilitating, isn't it? Dorothea writes, regarding the Pope, so if he's replaced for whatever reason, can the new Pope come in there and reverse all of Francis's executive orders? Are you getting your stories mixed up here? Yeah, well, I think that does happen a bit, but not really. My favorite household tip, Dorothea writes, if you want unexpected visitors or relatives to leave, bring up the election. Well, that's a gambit that I would not attempt because maybe they won't leave. They'll just stay and argue with you and make you miserable while eating your food and staying in your house. That's a gambit I wouldn't attempt. Oh, gosh. Well, anyway, I mean, and my apologies to those who actually saw that entire 60 Minutes report and maybe remembered it better than I. But wow, I just when I was casting around today for something that made me feel some measure of buoyancy instead of walking around with the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I did remember that. So what the hell is going on at, well, I'll stop, Post-Gazette. They have the most absurd editorial today on Jackie Evancho singing the Star-Spangled Banner at Trump's inauguration. First of all, I don't see that fact as necessitating an editorial. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and Jackie Evancho singing the Star-Spangled Banner ain't one of them. And yet, the Post-Gazette editorial staff saw fit to... we got a call? Hello?
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. You're talking about the Pope.
Yeah?
Always gets me about religion. Now, you have all these people homeless, and then they take all this money in from the church.
Yeah.
Then you have the Vatican that has gold worth billions or whatever they have in that beautiful building. To me, that's not godly. I mean, you have that riches there, but yet they're pushing this thing of,
yeah, I mean, I've always, right, the glory of the beauty of the cathedrals and churches and the art alone, my God, is priceless, really. But the church would tell you it is for the glory of God. It is a celebration of the glory of God. But meanwhile, as you say, there's homeless people on the steps outside.
Yeah, I just, that's what turns me on.
Yeah, I understand.
Organized religion and all that.
But see, organized religion does do more than most institutions for people in need. I mean, Catholic charities, Jewish charities, Muslim charities, these are groups that really do stuff.
Uh-huh.
You have to give them that.
Yeah, I'll give them that.
Okay.
But that's what I wanted to say about...
I understand. There just seems to be, there's hungry, tattered folks outside, and inside you could melt down one, gold object on the altar and feed them for the rest of their lives. I hear you.
Same way as a businessman that makes all kind of money and goes to church every Sunday, is in the choir, or whatever he does, and then people that work under him, he just screws them. So I don't want to be any parts of that garbage. To me, it's fake. I think Trump's fake. I don't think he believes anything other than his mood watch. But I mean, he's the same type of thing. He'll use different people, different like religion, whatever it is, that he's used on. It's the biggest scam in history, what he's done to get in there. the lie, and now he doesn't even believe the people he's going to have working under him about his,
Oh, no.
hacking and all that.
No.
I don't know how he's going to function. I don't know how the government's going to function if you don't believe in your people you have working under you. It's just beyond me why he thinks the way he does.
Right.
But he's so smart, I guess he can
Yeah.
just figure it out on his own.
Yeah.
But
Don't worry. He's got it. He's got it.
I think the people are going to be so disappointed in the man. I think this is a stake in America's heart. I mean, he's going to take us back and back and back. I think the people that voted for him are going to regret it. I really do, because he hasn't proven to me with his cabinet picks or anything other than for the rich. And that's all I see. If he'd have picked a moderate person, or even Romney, which I don't care for, but it just, his picks don't show me nothing. I said give the guy a chance. I did think that. But after his cabinet picks, I thought, I'm done with that guy. I never was for him anyway, but...
I understand. Yeah, it's, well, I don't, the only thing you said that I would take issue with is I don't think he's going to take us backward. I think he's taking us forward into hell that we cannot imagine. He ain't going back. He's going off, he's pulling America off on a whole other road that, believe me, we do not want to take. It will potentially, yes, destroy this nation. To go backward, he'd still have to, have some sense of what the country was about. This is a radical departure, his administration. And the Republican Party, as far as I'm concerned, is now a radical rogue party, by and large. And this guy... is also rogue. We don't know. They ain't going back. They're veering off. Directionally, I don't see it as a backward move. I see it as something much worse, something truly frightening.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you have China. They want to double their military spending. It's like they're all setting up for some big thing to happen.
Well, I don't blame him. If I were China, I would be very rattled by this guy, because you don't have a clue what he's going to do.
Accelerate the arms race.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unbelievable.
No, he's going to. He's already destabilized pretty much everything, and the world. Again, if you know any history, a destabilized world is a dangerous world, and alliances and things like NATO and things like the EU, these are all huge efforts that have worked up until now to give the world some stability, and so we don't kill each other quite as much.
In his conflict of interest, I'm surprised if he'll get through the second year. I bet they impeach him or something, like we talked before.
Yeah. I
can't see the guy. Legally, I don't see how it works.
Well, anything's possible. Let's just put it that way.
Yet that's not a good thing either. So
No.
It doesn't make it better.
Right. Trump has said he likes to be unpredictable.
Yeah.
Unpredictable is not a good policy. Unpredictable is a recipe for a lot of trouble. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Bye. Back to the absurdity of an editorial about Jackie Evancho. This is when she was 10. She came in second on The Voice. She's got a beautiful crystalline soprano voice. And part of the allure was she was just this tiny little thing in this amazing soprano diva operatic thing came out of this little adorable girl. Well, she ain't so little anymore, and she ain't as adorable anymore. She's all of 16, I believe, now. And the voice is still there. And fine and dandy. I got nothing against her. I'm sorry that she agreed. She's apparently friendly with Trump. The two of them actually both have something very much in common. They are both reality stars. And so they're palsy-walsy. So she's going to sing the national anthem, and I'm sure you've heard that the Trump people are having a lot of trouble finding anybody, singers, actors, dancers, anybody to entertain at the inauguration because, as we all know, all those people are liberals. But why would you... The headline is called A Rallying Point. This is an editorial in a newspaper that we're supposed to take seriously. I'll just give you the last line, because I don't even understand what the hell they're talking about in this thing. The last line is, once again, this will be Ms. Evancho's time to shine in the national spotlight. Perhaps a divided electorate will be able to agree that voices like hers temporarily make our politics look small. What? 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 I'm serious. What? I don't even know what the... What was that? What is that? I read it twice. I thought, well, in many ways our politics is or are small. They're about as small as you can get. Small-minded. But our politics are huge in their import. And it has nothing to do with Jackie Evancho's friggin' vocal cords. A rallying point? Ah, yes. I can see America coming together as Jackie leads into the triumphant end of that stirring anthem. I can feel all the animus melting away as those dulcet tones carry across the Capitol steps and down the mall. I can see it, America coming together, a divided people acknowledging that, wow, with vocal cords like that, our differences are piddle. We have a call? Well, Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I was calling about that editorial, and I saw their editorial the other day about the nominee for Secretary of State.
Yeah?
I mean, that one seemed completely goofy, too.
What, they thought Rex Tillerson was about as great a appointee as you could come up with?
He's they, never mentioned any of his conflict of interest at all. I mean, there was, a very vague thing. If you knew about it, you would probably know that might be what it was about. Then they went on about how he was going to be great for jobs and energy. And I'm thinking, aren't we at, 4.9 for what's the current?
Yeah, what?
And aren't we, is there some shortage of fuel or energy or something that I'm unaware of?
No.
All the gas wells in Pennsylvania are capped. They're not even being used. And we're shipping gasoline out of the country the last time I heard. So I don't know what.
Well, what's good for ExxonMobil? What's good for ExxonMobil is good for us.
The other thing is, if everybody in the whole bloody world wants to be out on a stupid oil derrick drilling wells, Like that's what everybody wants. I don't understand. Like, I would assume like a pretty huge number of people would like to be writing computer code, and they don't want to be on a oil well out in the Gulf Coast or off the coast or wherever in Russia. For God's sake, in Russia, I don't know. My ultimate point is that it would be nice if people would clue into the fact that there's nothing particularly liberal about the Post-Gazette. There's this
Nothing.
to still think that.
No, I agree. Nothing. It's since this blockhead, Mr. Block, has taken it over. It is. I mean, he is. He's to the right of Donald Trump. He is apparently really making his politics felt in that editorial board. On any editorial content. We don't even know what we are not seeing in that paper because he has refused to run it.
You would think, what was that? I can never remember that major story that in the waning days of the Trib, they broke that one major story, and the Post-Gazette never covered it at all about a year ago or so.
Yeah. It's
a local story.
Yeah, I so feel for the good people that are still over there and desperately clinging to their employment.
It's Friday. We're missing one of the. I still remember the one who went over there that we don't get to hear on Friday anymore. I think that was Friday, right?
Potter was Chris Potter. I happened to talk to him just yesterday. Yeah, he's. I don't know. I miss him too.
It was that was a really great show. So.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm done complaining.
Okay. I'm happy to give you the time. Bye.
All right.
Bye. Yeah. So there am I saying so. Yesterday, I ranted quite a bit about how the Russians would not have been able to have the impact they did on our election. In fact, could not have helped elect this vile vulgarian that now will be the President of the United States. Their whole campaign, the Russians' whole plan, could not have worked if American media had not aided and abetted them. Because you can hack and come up with all these emails and information, but it doesn't do you any good if it ain't disseminated through the usual channels. And so in order for the Russian hack to work, American media had to take its stolen information and put it out there and sift through it endlessly and trumpet every interesting little tidbit they found, keeping it in the public eye while not covering things like Donald Trump's conflicts of interest, like not covering things like the Russians hacking into our electoral process. No! The Russians had given them such wonderful, gossipy kind of look behind the curtain of what's going on at the DNC. It couldn't have worked without that final and most important step. You can steal the stuff, but then you need legitimate news organizations to disseminate it for you. So I was talking about that yesterday. And I will credit the New York Times for this much. someone on the Times felt it necessary to look into this and to unequivocally state this, that the Times and other news organizations had, quote, become a de facto instrument of Russian intelligence. Again, a phrase we talked about, useful idiots. Lenin's phrase. You get people to help you. Useful idiots. In this case, they were useful, but they weren't idiots. They knew exactly what they were doing. And they were doing it because, well, let's listen to them. Because the defensiveness with which this has been greeted is astonishing, including at the New York Times. We got a call. Hello?
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike in D.C.
Hi.
The media has shot themselves in the foot. If they had been at all non-biased towards Clinton, they would have another 4 years of this email and her hearings in front of Congress. Now they have this guy who they put in office, but they're really going to have to work this time. Right? And I think that's the reason that they chose all of the easy stories, was because they didn't have to work. And you know how hard investigating is. It's work. So they're going to have to work now if they want to have stories.
What makes you think they're going to work? They'll have a circus to cover. They'll just cover the edges again. Do you think I just see them generally as covering this Trump administration like they cover any administration, and you will still have a minority of media actually digging. That's my guess.
Well, that's depressing.
Well, listen to the executive editor of the Times, the New York Times, said after they published this thing saying, the media aided and abetted Russian intelligence, he said that he did not regret the Times coverage of the hacked email. So, no regrets. He said, quote, I get the argument that the standard should be different if the stuff is stolen, and that should influence our decision. But in the end, I think that we have the obligation to report what we can about important people and important events. There's just no question that the email exchange inside the Democratic Party was newsworthy.
No, it wasn't. It was totally petty. Hillary didn't say one thing that I heard anyway.
No, it's true.
Could be construed as something terrible. Their subordinates complaining about Bernie's subordinates. That's news.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And you know what else? It is. Stop and think. Here's what else was news that should have had something to do with their decision whether or not to go with all these stories. Wait a minute. How come all of these stolen stuff is only on the Democrats?
Right.
Yeah.
And Bill Maher asked Assange that. He was like, "So you've done all this for against Clinton. I assume you're going to come out with Trump's taxes soon for us."
Yeah.
Assange just looked like, "No, that's not happening."
Yeah.
And
the big story is, right. Why wouldn't the big story have been in the Times editorial room and all these other publications? Hey, guys, we need to acknowledge that all this is stuff on the Democrats, which clearly points to the fact that the Russians are in cahoots with Trump. And we can't be party to that. And even after the fact that the guys, I've got quotes here from the LA Times, from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, nothing will change. They are not regretful.
And they're going to be out of jobs. They're going to be. We already have an entertainment network. Right? What are they going to just keep reporting?
Yeah, because don't you watch like the TV news? It looks like Entertainment Network. Same thing. I mean, I swear they spent 5 minutes on Alan Thicke dying the other night on NBC Nightly News, and I'm thinking, you're covering the entire world, and minus commercials, you got like about 18 minutes to tell us what we need to know, and you're spending 5 minutes on Alan Thicke.
Right. And you saw this happening a long time ago when they changed the news and they put him under the entertainment arm.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden that arm has to make money. But here's the thing. We don't need that info. We have entertainment news already. We don't need to go to NBC.
But it's what people want. Total sellout. Corporatized media, total sellout. Journalistic ethics don't rise to the level of the money that can be gotten by entertaining the masses.
So we have 3 estates all controlled by the Republicans.
That is correct.
And then the 4th estate is now
captured
and couldn't care less.
Yeah. Scary.
And my job right now, I'm telling myself this, and I haven't been listening as much because I have to keep myself calm.
Yes.
Right?
So I'm sorry.
My job now is to hold on until the pendulum will swing. I don't know when that's going to happen. In my lifetime, in 2 years, when people in Kentucky don't have, can't get their diabetes medication, I don't know when that pendulum will change, but it will change. And my objective now is to hold on without making myself crazy, which is not going to be easy.
No.
Because I have both the macro, how this looks to the world, and then the micro. This is what I do for a living. And I have to find some way to survive this.
Yeah, we all do.
So my job, and that's my pitch for everybody else, is to hold on until the pendulum switches back, because it will.
Yeah.
At some point.
Let's hope. Thank you.
See you.
Bye. So, as Paul Krugman put it, also in the New York Times today, I mean, what happened to the United States last month was electoral subversion on the part of a foreign power. And he says, and for news organizations, it is not the time to be making excuses for their coverage that empowered that subversion. But they are. The mention of the Republicans in charge of everything, and they are. They are. Guys, almost every state in the country, it seems, is governed by the Republicans, and Republicans take no prisoners. They don't play nice. When they have power, they don't reach out. They step on your neck with their boots on. And where you're seeing that play out most clearly is in the state of North Carolina. Isn't that where the Outer Banks is? Yeah, North Carolina. I have vacation there. I have to tell you, I see a lot of people in this area with OBX on their Outer Banks on their cars. I think anyone in their right mind, whether you like the Outer Banks or not, would never go back to North Carolina, would never step foot in that fucked up state, because you do not want to enrich their economy. Now, that doesn't make you crazy. It makes you crazy like the NBA, which pulled out of North Carolina. It makes you crazy like a lot of other corporations that have pulled out of North Carolina because they don't want to help enrich this despicable Republican administration. Now, so here's what happened there, astonishingly. A Democrat won the governorship. Yeah. Well, the Republican incumbent governor, I mean the one who lost, refused to acknowledge he'd lost for over a month. He instead demanded recounts. He said there were illegal votes. He said this and he said that, desperately trying to cling to power, and eventually, after spending a lot of taxpayer dollars, had to concede that, yes, in fact, he had lost. So a Democrat is about to take over the governor's position in North Carolina. Needless to say, the state legislature is totally in the hands of the Republicans. And guess what they did? Are you following this at all? In advance, now that their governor, the Republican who got beat, has acknowledged he got beat, the Republican legislature of the state of North Carolina called a surprise special session. They closed the session to the public, and they went into their chambers and they passed a bunch of bills intended to essentially strip the incoming governor of power. Think about this. They lost that position. The Democrats won. So the Republicans in the legislature call a special session and passed bills that literally strip the governor, the Democrat coming in, of a ton of powers that the governor has always had in that state. Now, this is just stunning. Stunning. I'm trying to remember, and I thought I had it here. Before they did this, the governor of the state of North Carolina had the power to appoint, I don't know, something over 1,000 people to various positions within the state. And after this special session they just had, that's been stripped to a few hundred. They've taken his power away from him. This is how Republicans play the game. Shamelessly. Caller, hello.
Hi. Lynn, this is Christina from the North Hills.
Hi.
Long time
Yeah.
of yours.
Hi.
And I'm just calling to tell you I just think you're magnificent. And I have so much respect for the work you've done over the last, is it 2 decades already?
It's 3.
It's just impressive. You're there. And I've relied on you, especially in the last few years. We were overseas, and to have your voice on the Internet, because I had kind of lost you there for a while, was just so important to me. And to continue with this, I feel a bit of frustration with people saying, well, we'll do this in 2 years, we'll do this in 4 years. I've been at meetings already where it's like, okay, we need to organize for in 2 minutes, or in 2 years. And it's like, no, you have to do things now, and you have to do things daily.
Right.
And I think you do that. You're a shining star that way, and that you do that. And I truly, truly appreciate it.
Oh, Christina. First of all, what a joy to hear your voice and to know you're still out there. And excuse us for a second. Catch me up on your wonderful daughter, Katie.
Kate is actually in New York. She just moved up there a couple months ago. She is a law associate with a firm up there. She got her law degree from Michigan. Absolutely loved Michigan. Gosh, she loved Michigan.
Gee, I wonder if she had my brother.
She did not have him.
Aww.
But was kind of aware of him.
Oh.
Certainly over there in in the law department. But she's, so she just finished a year's fellowship at USA Today in their legal department and worked for two incredible women, so highly regarded in the law profession and, media rights and all of that, and is now just adjusting to
Wow.
Manhattan. Yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear any of this. God, give her my best. And, geez, thank you.
Well, just keep up the good stuff.
I'm trying.
Because you're doing it every day, and that's what I think is so important for those of us who believe in this. So
it's a wonderful point to underscore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Bye. Wow. I haven't seen that woman in decades. She homeschooled her kids. And those kids, Kate is I can't even remember what happened that I had this 3 Kates show. But way back in WTAE radio, I had these 3 little girls, all named Kate, that I had met in various ways. And all 3 blew me away. And so I had these 3 Katies on, and they blew my audience away as well. I can't remember. They couldn't have been older than 11 or 12 at the time. And they were a disparate group. And I am aware of all 3. So you heard the report on this Kate. Another Kate is an actress in New York as well. So 2 of them are in New York. And very successful and a wonderful human being. And the other is here in Pittsburgh. And I bump into her every once in a while, and she's just a delight. A delight. My 3 Kates, they're all grown up. Well, I don't know. Seriously, if you want to look, by the way, this special session in North Carolina has simply stunned the state. But again, the Republicans don't care. It wasn't enough that they had veto-proof majorities in both houses. So the Democratic governor would be relatively declawed anyway. No, they had to go in and literally alter the governor's powers. They want him to have nothing to do except sit there. And they will continue to pass this legislation, and he will veto everything, and they will override his veto, so he couldn't have done much of anything anyway. But that's not enough for them. They don't offer their hands. They step on your throat. And if we Democrats don't get some spine, grow one real fast, and play as tough as they do, well, we're going to be toast. You look at how the big boys play. Putin. We keep going in with the, Queensberry rules, while these guys have shivs in their hands. Ain't going to win that way. A friend writes, I'm thinking that Putin did hack the GOP, but the information is more valuable to the Russians as blackmail fodder. I absolutely agree with that, and in fact, I think I vaguely alluded to it earlier in the week. That's the scariest part of all. I'm quite sure that they have stuff. It is known that they did hack certain Republicans. They just never put it out there. So they're holding information. And yes, information they could use to blackmail Republicans. You can disseminate the stuff through a gullible, greedy media when that serves your purposes, or you can hold it close and let certain parties know that you have this information and just might dribble it out there if they displease you in some way. And so it's quite conceivable that, yes, the stuff they have on the Republicans, they're using as bribery. We have a caller. Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye, hello. Okay, and then finally, ladies and gentlemen, what are the most common surnames in the country? Same old. Let's see. Smith, still number one. Johnson, Williams, yeah, that's 3. Brown is 4, and Jones is 5. Smith, Johnson, Williams, Brown, and Jones. However, coming in on the inside, we have Garcia, edging up from 8th in the pack to now 6th. Garcia, ladies and gentlemen, making a run. Garcia, Rodriguez, not far behind. They have joined the top 10. In the top 15, you can also add Hernandez. So the most common names, about 1 in 25 Americans are named either Smith, Johnson, Williams, Brown, or Jones. 1 in 25. And one of the reasons there are so many of those is because slaves. It's because of slavery. Because slaves were given and or adopted the names of their owners. There were a lot of Smiths and Jones and Johnsons and Browns who were slave owners, and there are a lot of former slaves and their progeny who carry their names. Nearly 1 in 4 Smiths are black. 1 in 3 Johnsons are black. And on and on and on. I can see why black people change their names. I can see why they do. Why would you want that slave owner's name? Generation after generation after generation. Why would you want it? You can reclaim an African name. I understand that totally. Well, you guys, I think that's the end of this program. I, again, apologize for any lowering of whatever enthusiasm and ebullience you might have felt upon rising today in the course of listening to this program, which can often seem pretty depressing. But Christina's right. We got to stay in the game, and we've got to play a lot tougher. Right? We do. So there. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday again. And I don't know. Stay warm.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.